2016, the agency said, will very likely be the hottest year on record. That would mean that the last 3 years, 2014, 2015, and 2016, have set ever more impressive temperature records in quick succession.
In the last 130 years, the global average surface temperature has risen by 0.85 degrees Celsius.
2015 was a record-breaking year in how hot the planet got.
Based on NASA data, April was the 7th month in a row that global temperatures set a new record high. It was also the third consecutive month that the record was broken by the largest margin.
Putting it, we had about 4,000 years of warming happen in about, 2 decades.
Oops. Ever-warming oceans melting polar ice could raise sea levels 15 feet in the next 50 to 100 years. NASA's former climate chief now says 5 times higher than previous predictions.
Ten years before I opened my eyes for the first time, a national and international debate sparked over climate change. There's a wide spectrum of opinions on the issue, ranging from people who devote their life to helping the environment to people who argue no such thing exists, and if it does, it is not an effect of human actions. So as I was researching this, it made it hard for me to know which sources were reliable, so I set out to get my information from one of the most reliable sources I know. My teacher.
So climate change is caused by the increase in greenhouse gases in our atmosphere, and most of those greenhouse gases are carbon dioxide, water vapor, methane, nitrous oxide, and CFCs, which are chlorofluorocarbons. And we as humans are doing a bunch of different activities that are increasing the amount of greenhouse gases in our atmosphere. So we're burning fossil fuels, we are doing agriculture, livestock releases a lot of methane, fertilizers convert into nitrous oxide in the soil.
However, I quickly realized that there were far too many causes of climate change, and there is no way I could reasonably ask the president to fix them all. So I decided to focus on one of the most obvious contributors to climate change, which is the cars and other modes of transportation that use gas to power them.
As we're burning the fossil fuels in the car, it's putting a lot of CO2 into the atmosphere. For every gallon of gas you burn in your car, you're emitting 19 pounds of carbon dioxide into the atmosphere, which is crazy to think 1 gallon of gas is that much. And if you think about how many millions of cars are on Earth, that's a lot of CO2 going into the atmosphere all at once. In addition to that, there's other pollutants that it's emitting, but the big one is the CO2.
I understand, President, why you may not want to make illegal one of the largest industries in our country. However, the car industry will not die. It will just be reborn in a new light, one that is clean and sustainable.
But one of the main effects is obviously increasing global average temperatures. So it doesn't mean it's going to get warmer everywhere, so it's going to change weather patterns. So some places will get more rain, some will get less rain. So in a place like California, where we're really dependent on the amount of rain we get, it could really impact us in the future if we get less rain, or maybe if we even get more rain. But they're still trying to figure out how that's going to affect our weather. Increase in sea level rise, so as the ice caps are melting, the glaciers are melting, and the permafrost is melting, so it's kind of changing the availability of fresh water in certain locations. Sea level rising is going to affect coastal communities, so they might not be able to live where they're currently living. We might get extended hot periods of time, or heat waves in places, which can affect people's lives. So elderly people tend to be affected by hot weather much more than others. It's going to affect our growing of crops, so it could potentially affect our food supply. So if the weather patterns change in a certain area, we might not get enough rain, so it might affect that. And also it's going to affect our plants and animals, so it's going to change where they're found on Earth, so it changes their distribution. It could affect the ranges of diseases, so like Zika virus could start spreading more north, so it could start affecting us if it starts to get warmer here, so it will affect where plants and animals are found. It's making the oceans more acidic, which is affecting things like coral reefs and things that make their shells out of calcium carbonate, so that will affect the ocean food chain, which could affect our food chain eventually if it's affecting fish and whatnot.
I can also see why you may think that we are only one country amongst hundreds, and you are right. We only contain 5% of the world's population. However, we have the highest per capita release of CO2. We release an astonishing 18% of all emissions, which does more than help the worldwide issue. If we do not change and lead the world by example, then there will not be any industries left because there will be no resources left. Dear future president, the world is currently at a crossroads between extinction and prosperity. The only way we can still thrive is if things are changed quickly. Be that change.